All right, everyone. CNN had an LGBTQ, LOL, MIA town hall. I support gay rights, but stop adding letters to it because Tumblr gender isn't actually a thing. Uh, all right, you've made your point. Is getting a little bit odd. I'm thinking at this point, like if you're like just gay or just a lesbian or something, you might cock an eyebrow at some of this stuff going on. But I guess Julian Castro, Beto O'Rourke, some of these others were there. I think it was mostly the lower tier candidates. I don't know. I didn't even know it was going on. The only reason I know that it even happened is because of a hysterical moment where an extraordinarily black trans woman showed up. Her name is Blossom. By the way, definitely like good job, excellent. Long life to Blossom, trust me. Showed up to steal the microphone from, I guess, a woman who had a transgendered son. Who's like 11 or something. And this is, on CNN. People who might be the next president of the United States are there, and they have no problem with this. It's getting funny, and steals the microphone and starts talking about how her life matters, black trans women matter and stuff. I'm thinking, and actually, CNN's response, although belated on this, I don't know, was it Don Lemon or one of these goofballs was the one there, saying, well, that's why we're having this discussion, so we can legitimize you. Just join the club. You got to get in line because CNN marginalizes everybody and misuses everybody. See, the whole point of CNN hosting such a thing, it has nothing to do with genuinely caring about like gay people and their plight in life or anything. It has to do with trying to platform radicals, number one, to propose an alternative to Trump for political reasons, mostly. And number two, so CNN can get ratings. Anything a cable news show is doing is to get money. It's to get ratings. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. That's strictly capitalistic. There's nothing wrong with that. The only problem is, of course, CNN is actually government co-opted. They work directly with the DNC. In many cases, we saw this. The email leaks from the DNC show this to be the case. MSNBC's the same. A lot of these other groups is Huffington Post, Vox, Salon. There's a lot of marching orders being taken by some of these so-called journalists. I thought it was hilarious, though. The best part, though, was watching Beto O'Rourke stand there, and you could, at times, when the camera was on him, you could sort of tell he's like, well, I'm way out of my league. What the fuck is going on? I show up for the LGBTQ town hall. I expect to get, some questions from a gay dude who would have been culturally acceptable back 20 years ago. Instead, I've got an extraordinary black trans female stealing the microphone from the mother of another transgendered individual to ramble about how CNN is pushing them to the side for racist reasons. This is peak wokeness. And this is, by the way, this is exactly how I expected things to play out. You're going to get weirder and weirder claims among groups that are supposedly progressive. And at some point, people are going to realize it's no longer progress and the whole paradigm will collapse. This is how censorship works. You get a little bit of censorship, people tolerate it, they have no problem, but individual groups, for their own individual reasons, push a little bit more here and there, and it keeps mounting until it's unsustainable. What we see with the wokeness shit is that corporations right now are indulging in the wokeness thing because it makes them money. There are two reasons why CNN and every other corporation in the United States is doing stuff like this. Number one is to build a good brand, and that makes people more likely to interact with the brand. Number two is to avoid the lynch mob. It's to avoid the social justice warrior lynch mob that will come for them if they don't. Because if they don't protect their brand preemptively, they could be targeted for doing business with a totally innocuous person, place, or thing that happens to be labeled Nazi by the far, far, far fringe of the left. So for CNN to have this town hall is a great move for them because it protects them from criticism. What they didn't expect is that they weren't being inclusive enough. Because now you see the evolution of a totally new wave of wokeness. And then that one will work its way in, get accepted, and each time it will get supplanted by something else. The idea that this is a slippery slope argument long ago died out. Because we can see it with our own eyes. Now, one thing I would say. Politics, society, things are not unidirectional. It doesn't move in one direction. That's why there's no such thing as progress. In the strictest social sense, there's no such thing as progress. There's only change. This is a concept within biological evolution, too. We say, oh, well, it evolved wings. That's progress. No, it's not. Because what if wings are selected against then? Well, then getting rid of your wings is a really great idea. Having wings is genetically backwards all of a sudden. It's not progress, it's being a caveman. The same thing happens within culture, within technology, within language. You have all sorts of dead ends and reversals all of the time. It constantly happens. Just like look at nutritional science. And this is a science writ large, the idea of maximizing people's nutritional intake and keeping them healthy and not filling yourself with junk and poison. Nutritional science swore up and down 20 years ago that eating eggs was terrible for you, that eating a slice of bacon was worse than Hitler. Now all of a sudden red meat is okay, eggs are probably good for you. Coffee used to be bad for you, now it's good for you. Butter was terrible for you, then margarine was good for you, now margarine's bad for you and butter's okay. Look at that and the way that it works. There's no such thing as linear progress. There's no linear progress here either with the wokeness thing. People think that, people on the right especially, they feel alienated. They feel like things are marching in the leftist direction and we have to swing the pendulum back. There's no pendulum to swing. That paradigm will strangle itself like every other authoritarian paradigm inevitably does. It stopped being about equal rights for gays. It stopped being about proper treatment of the transgendered community, insofar as you can say a community exists there. It's gone beyond people trying to defend themselves and be proud of who they are, and it's become a corporate toy and basically nothing more than an opportunistic dumpster fire for people on the very far left to exploit for social reasons and for opportunists to get rich on. We can think of some of those individuals probably. You can name names maybe in the comments. That's about all. Peace out.